Jada Toys, Valaverse, Fresh Monkey Fiction, and more. They all have one thing in common. They are new up-and-comers, and we have one question. Can any of them dethrone Hasbro? Hello and welcome to Modern Toy Fair. I am your host, Mr. Modern Toy Fair, and I am joined by the founder of the NEC Illuminati, the delayer of shipments, the procrastinator of pre-orders, my YouTube wife, Mrs. Modern Toy Fair, Jarmar _games. But that's not all. We are also joined by the man Modern Toy Fair has full custody over, the man Optimus Prime Pop Buddy refuses to stop, the Twilight Knight, the Master of Mac, the three-pump chump of taking the show off the rails, Nate. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm great.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. Haven't had to use an air mattress in a long time, so
Yeah,
That's always a plus. That's always a plus.
it's always a plus when you don't have to.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. No one knows.
And you never will. But yeah, so tonight's episode, I guess if you're watching this whenever it is during the day, not necessarily tonight for you, is going to be primarily discussing all of these like newer, because obviously a lot of them are 5-10 years old. There's only like one or two that might be younger than that. Companies popping up, putting out toys, some licensed, some original IP, and kind of discussing like, could they be the future with all of this negativity going towards the big players like Hasbro and Mattel? Could we see a pivoting point where things start going the other direction towards where people will like navigate towards these companies instead, if they could potentially get, you know, some of those big properties? So I've got a handful here. I know Nate has some. Jamar, if you...
Yeah, I'm going to just kick my feet up on my desk here. And...
Jamar, you still got a handful. It's all good.
A handful of... Oh, there we go. Another no one will get.
So... Anyway, this kind of... I had planned this episode for a while, but I moved it up on the list a little bit because I recently got a hold of the Jada Toys Street Fighter figures. And I went from being like, oh, they look cool, but not for me kind of thing. And then I saw them in person, or correction, I saw them on Fuchsia's review, and then I saw them in person and bought them and reviewed them, and I was blown away. Like, the quality is so much better than almost anything else we get at retail, in my opinion, at this point. And it kind of made me think, like, if any of these smaller companies got that opportunity where they were given, like, one of the big properties like Star Wars or Marvel or DC, do we think they could potentially dethrone some of the major players in the future? So, like, Jada Toys, obviously, like I just mentioned. Another one I have is Valiverse. Like, they're, you know, pumping stuff out regularly. They do great work. They go well with the G.I. Joe line. He allegedly Bobby Valla has some licensed stuff planned that he's going to announce later this year. They've got the giant Humvee thing they're working on to try to be like, look, you can get a legit action figure 1/12 scale vehicle for a decent price, to try to stick it to Hasbro's HasLab problem. Fresh Monkey Fiction, I mostly know them from the Santa Claus figures because that was a fun line for me. But they also have this Operation Monster Force line that's coming out. / I think some of them might be out.
Yeah, and a lot of people may know the return of Eagle Force as well, which was really what kind of put them on the map.
Okay. Boss Fight Studios is one that you brought up. I know of them as well. They're doing those Saurozoic warriors that everyone's getting excited for. There's Epic Hacks line. They do have some like properties that are licensed, like they're doing Fraggle Rock of all things. Popeye.
Yeah.
They did a handful of others, but the one that sticks out to me is Umbrella Academy. Haya Toys, they're a smaller scale, but they do the Predator figures, which, I mean, that's a hard sell for them at retail because you've got NECA right there with them. But difference in quality and size and price kind of changes depending on what your goal is. Four Horsemen, they have the Mythic Legions, and now I think, was it Cosmic Legions? Is that what the other line is? Those just look absolutely incredible. And that entire collector, like, they've got their own bubble, it seems, of just like...
Yeah. I am both like jealous and so happy to not be in that
Right?
because
Same.
like they look amazing, but oh my god, there's so much cool stuff and it's so expensive after, you know, if you don't get it immediately.
Yeah.
They do a good job of like bringing things back, but I'm like, no, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I agree. I see it and I'm like, it looks so good. I am going to get the second version of the Headless Horseman just because it looks really cool. I like the green and purples on it. So I'm like, ooh, okay. That'll be my one. And
hopefully we do. We have the Krampus, but that's it. Like,
I almost got that one, but I was like, I don't need a Krampus. And that's one of those things that will be like up on Facebook Market in like 6 months if I get that.
Right. For you, for sure.
First step is acceptance.
Yes, hey, I've always accepted it. Don't like being called out on it, but I've always accepted it. There's a difference.
It's I that have a hard time accepting it because I want him to keep it.
Yes, and me, I'm like, I don't have space or money, so you gotta go. Sure. There's also for my list, I've got the Super Action Force stuff, which actually came from a Patreon member, Tavin. I hope I'm saying your name right. They mostly do accessories, which you know pulls on my heartstrings. And then there was a couple that Nate had mentioned, Marauders, Gunrunners, and Chicken Fried Toys, which I hadn't heard of before. So I'll have you like kind of explain a little more about that.
Yeah, those are. I'm not surprised that you don't know them as well. They're more in the 1/18 scale game. Marauder Gunrunners started out as an accessory company. They were making like, 1/18 scale weaponry and armaments and things like that. But then they started doing I can't remember the name of the toy line now.
Gotta love when that happens.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so I'm so terrible because I had a ton of them. I loved these when they first came out. They did a Kickstarter. It was hugely successful, and they are basically modular figures. Okay. So you got a lot of the base bodies, and you got a lot of the Marauder Task Force. So it really wasn't that. Different.
Oh, that was a good job of like.
Was that the Kickstarter thing you sent me where they had like the generic like cops and civilians and like that?
I think that one might have been a different one, but it's the same kind of idea. They were basically military figures, but you had different base bodies and you had all kinds of crazy accessories that you can do. And you can really, I mean, for like idiots like me, can really like customize really cool looking characters just by getting different accessories and overlays and different things like that. So that's what they did. And then they also do a little bit more military realistic because they've done a Vietnam, or they're doing a Vietnam series. They're doing a World War II and things like that. And then I do happen to have some of the Chicken Fried Toys here with me because I did want to show them off. They're probably the lesser known of the ones, but they do what's called the Dime Novel Legends, and that's like the cowboy figures. So they do really cool 1/18 scale cowboys. They've even got a not Lone Ranger.
And then for Jarmar, 1/18 is the 3 3/4 like Star Wars vintage collection.
Oh, I mean, I was doing the math in my head. 1/12, 1/18. This has got to be smaller.
Barkeep.
These kind of look like Westworld characters.
Oh my god, you could do a whole Westworld like.
It's just like
I mean, but they're more like traditional Western style. Like here's a Union soldier, and like this one's totally not Kurt Russell from Tombstone. And they do a lot of homages. I have the first series here.
I feel like I remember you showing that off, and you sent us a picture. I got the whole
first series that I got from Kickstarter, but I didn't get any more than that. But I do have those, and I do like them. I think they're really, really nice figures. So
cool.
That kind of comes from my 1/18, G.I. Joe background. So
I figured between that and the Star Wars, it was probably what got you. So we'll just kind of go down the list here, and we'll kind of quickly, because obviously we don't want this to be like 3 hours long, go over some of the companies and what kind of stuff they're putting out, and potential if they think, or if they need some more work. So I already said my opinion on Jada Toys. I think for a retail figure, they are top notch, and if they get more licenses, I honestly feel like they can be a force to reckon with. Like if they somehow manage to pull off getting the okay to do like Marvel versus Capcom, since they obviously have a relationship with Capcom already because they're doing the Mega Man figures as well, I would love to see a comparison side by side of like a Spider-Man and a Wolverine Marvel Legends versus what they would offer, because I do think that it would be either on par or even potentially better, especially at the price point. Like theirs is also 25, but there's not that like, is it 25? Is it 27? Is it 30? Is it 47? Like there's no like random number generator on what figures cost now for them.
I mean, I would say like recommend to anyone, if we wanted to get more information about these figures, we probably should check out your review. But just for someone who may or may not have seen that, like what, because you've been like on a tear about these, so like what really brings it, because you're saying like competing with like Hasbro and like obviously these like veterans, what is it just about it outside of just like the consistency on price?
I mean, so the biggest thing is the detail and the articulation. Like accessory wise, it's pretty solid. Like you get an extra set of hands, and you actually get 2 of the same hands. So you got 2 fists, and then he, like Fei Long here, got his little jazz fingers for his fighting stance. Like the pants, they didn't even have to do it, but they're all textured. The like waistband to like the bottom of his pants and so like that are different textures, so you can tell like, oh, this is a waistband, this is the sweat pant or the whatever. Even like the bottom like cuffs are a different texture. They have kind of like the McFarlane like soft plastic for the crotch piece, but it's not like that shitty version like McFarlane does. So it doesn't feel like cheapy. But articulation, I mean, it's super easy to pose. Got all sorts of options, butterfly joints. Like it's all smooth. I don't feel like I'm gonna break them when I'm like playing around with them. So like detail, accessories, posability, playability, really like quality, like everything about it. At no point do I feel like, oh, I got gypped, or oh, I'm gonna somehow hurt this figure by trying to pose it. Where there's been like Hasbro doesn't really have an issue with like breaking, but more so I feel like the detail in the QC. Because on the flip side of that, I don't think he's within reach. Yeah, I don't know where he is. I recently got the PS5 Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man, and you'll get to see my review of that. Actually, if you're watching this, you saw it this week, hopefully. So if you haven't, go back and watch it.
You were very angry.
Oh yes, I am very, very angry about this figure, because it very much so is this a cheap repaint. They put no effort into adding any detail to it. They didn't even like with the paint apps, like on that Spider-Man's fist, like he has the piece that goes in the back that's white, and then each knuckle is white, but you can still see the spider like webs in the red underneath. Nope, just entire back of the hand is white. So like it was just lazy, and I feel like that's almost like a mass-produced problem more so than anything else. But like comparison, I mean, obviously, bad comparison, he doesn't have a lot of different color things to him, but they're doing other characters from the line who do have a lot more detail. So
I think that Jada Toys, of any of the ones on the list, are probably the company currently to watch. They already have a big box retail presence. And they have for quite some time, because they used to make those little stupid, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say stupid. If you like them, that's fine. But those little metal nano figures or whatever, and they make those
like the where it's like they did like Batman and wrestling and like the dollar store kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were more than that, I think, but I don't know.
But like they're similar to those, but they came in those big box sets of like 10 or 20 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, you could get the big box sets, you could get them individually, things like that. So from where they've already come from with that stuff, trying to get, their foot in the door with some sort of, niche collectible, to be able to do figures, then I think that what they've done in a short amount of time has been incredible. And I can't wait to see what they do next.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, just your hype alone has got me excited for them. And, I'm not like Street Fighter's not like a huge touchstone for me, but like, I'm like, I'm curious.
See, I'm the same way.
I'm definitely getting Mega Man. Like,
that'll get me.
Like, I'm gonna get that. Like, probably check out that first wave of Mega Man. So
the fact that they have this Capcom license kind of makes me super happy, because like my attachment to Street Fighter is through Marvel vs. Capcom. Like that's probably one of my top 5 favorite franchises of all time. And like now I can go and get Mega Man. Like I can do it. I can finally do my Marvel's Capcom like display
Okay,
because these
okay.
I
actually
mean,
like scale
they'll
really
scale with
well,
Marvel Legends.
and
Yeah.
they scale
Yeah.
better with Mafex.
Oh, even better for you.
Because I actually I had a guy argue with me in the comments because I had my Mafex Spider-Man up against him and Ryu in the reviews, and I mentioned like I feel like they're a little too short. Like it's not terrible, but it's not great. And he's like arguing with me like, oh well, they're only 5'9" and Spider-Man's listed at 5'11", and I went and looked. I'm like, no, they're listed at 5'10", and so is comic book
Oh, the
Spider-Man. So like they should be the same height, and Spider-Man's a little taller, but Spider-Man's never standing straight, so I can kayfabe that, no problem.
Sure.
But then I put it up against the new PS5 Spidey, and he dwarfs him almost. Like it's yeah. So yeah, it's but then again, Marvel Legends puts out so many Spider-Man that you have like 8 different height variations. You can figure it out. But yeah, I think it's gonna be fun just to have a Marvel versus Capcom shelf, if nothing else. So let's move on a little here. So Valiverse, I've ever since they kind of changed my mind because I had that whole situation with the what were they, the Scarab figures, where I wasn't really impressed, and then they sent us some stuff to look at and kind of showed how they improved. I really love it. I like the army building aspect. I like that they're testing the waters and trying new things. They're not afraid. Bobby's not afraid to like take chances. I don't see them ever getting to a point where they're gonna try to get any sort of big license that's like one of the major ones or anything like that to try to compete in that market. I think they're gonna try to stay in their niche where they do the Action Force stuff and maybe have some properties that other people aren't doing. I think the quality's there, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I would agree. I hope he does. He's a weird situation where I don't want to see him get too big.
Yeah.
You know, like I think with what he's doing, I think where he's headed now. Obviously, in that independent realm, he could definitely get bigger. But I don't see necessarily being that big box, and I think that's okay in this case. You know, just keep. You know, there's nothing wrong with being awesome at what you're good at.
Yeah, he could blow up and be the biggest indie toy company out
Right.
there. I just don't see him being like that retail level like thing.
Right.
Not that
I don't think that's, and I can't speak for him, but I don't know that that's necessarily where his interests lie.
Yeah, based on the conversations we've had with him, I honestly don't think that he has any interest in trying to go and be mainstream. He seems very focused on like building his own community versus like trying to, you know, do the common toy buyer kind of thing. I'd love to see more like independent shops carry his stuff. Like I think that would be a great like expansion for him, but I don't want to see his stuff in Walmart or Target. I feel like it would do well, but I just don't think that's the right fit for them.
That's fair. I have nothing to add.
Okay, well, I know we'd shown stuff off in the past.
No, I
talked about. I wasn't sure if you had an opinion based off any of that. Or...
No, I mean I know what they are. I mean, you guys have kind of sold it as a sense. At least this is my interpretation of how you sold it to me. But it's mostly like kind of not side characters, but it's his own universe, but very adjacent to like the G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Like,
so Action Force was its own thing way back in the day.
Yeah.
And he obtained that license and is kind of making it his own while still throwing some little touches of things from the old in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. It's just with something like that, like, I mean, you guys kind of put it perfect, but like there wouldn't be really a property that I would imagine that he could get that I would be like, oh yeah, now I'm going to check it out. That, you know, like what's his forte? Like what makes it, you know, unique seems like the Valiverse and using Action Force and stuff is what makes it unique.
Yeah, the only thing I could think that he could possibly excel out would be like G.I. Joe, and that's never gonna happen.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you're not getting that away.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so Fresh Monkey Fiction, that one, I think the Santa Claus figures I got were really cool, but the Monster Force stuff looks cool, but I think they've got a little ways the way to like kind of build up the repertoire, because it doesn't seem like they have a huge library to kind of figure out like, oh yeah, they'd be awesome, or I could see them getting a major license or something like that. Especially because I don't know what they're doing with the Monster Force stuff, but the Santa Claus stuff, those boxes came in Marvel Legends boxes. So like, I can see them trying to fly under the radar a little bit to not get sued over little things like that.
Yeah,
also,
I mean, I'm a cheerleader for Fresh Monkey Fiction. I was an early supporter. I did Eagle Force Returns Kickstarter. So I want to see them succeed in with what they're doing, and I like what they've done with the move from 3 3/4 inch to 6 inch, and I think the Monster Hunter stuff looks really cool.
It does.
It's not for me, and that's not where my interests lie, but I hope it does well, and I hope they continue with that cool niche, just underground kind of a thing going on.
Yeah, like, I want them to be successful, but yeah.
I want this Santa Claus line to continue, even though I don't have any of them and I don't see myself getting any of them. I think it's a cool idea.
You should at least get the Mall Santa that comes out this year.
And maybe I will, because I do have a few festive figures that I put out around Christmas time, and that would be a cool one to do. But like I said, I'm a cheerleader for them. I want to see them succeed. They're going to be they're somewhat limited because right now they're kind of tied to Big Bad Toy Store, because instead of doing Kickstarter, because they had a rough Kickstarter. I mean, it was a tumultuous process through that. It took almost 3.5 years to get those made, but they did deliver. And they delivered a great product, a product I was happy with once I got it. So it's always going to be a little bit of that niche market, and until they can get out from under that, which they may not want to.
Yeah.
This might be comfortable for them, and that's okay too. And I hope that continues on, at least in that capacity.
I would say that if I guess this is such a weird thing of like saying, like, can they take on, like Hasbro and whatnot? Because if you're gonna do that, it has to be like kind of retail and that whole thing.
Well, I guess to specify, I mean more in like price like point, quality, like.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still another one I don't know about. The only thing I was going to make a joke about is if it wanted to go to retail, Fresh Monkey Fiction, although I like the name, probably is a weird retail name. But
I mean no one goes to the toy aisle and goes, I want the Hasbro Marvel Legends.
Have you seen the logo?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like that on a box.
I'm just going to say the company they work with a lot initially was also called Zika Toys, and if you guys remember, there was that Zika virus from like 8-9 years ago. So I think that one's worse.
Yeah. That's worse. I'm sure there's worse names out there now, but yeah.
That would be like somebody having I know the Panazoic ooze name.
Okay.
The one I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Yeah. I get you. You don't have to say it.
like a certain beer company that was like, can we not call it that?
Right. No, they seem to be like perfectly fine. No. But yeah, it's just hard for me to like obviously have an opinion truly on it, because I really haven't even seen like these figures, like the Santa Claus stuff. It looks cool. It's a neat idea, but does that necessarily translate into being like up next, kind of take over like a big property, or just to be really big? I don't know. I don't have the answers.
That's fine. I mean, like you said, you got your feet up.
Stop pressuring me.
You're here for the ride. So this next one, I think, is going to be a situation where me and Nate may clash a little bit. So Boss Fight Studios.
Yes.
Because you added them to the list. I
did.
Initially didn't, because I mostly forgot about them. I'm not a huge fan.
That's fair.
I've seen some of their like stuff, because it's the 3 3/4 inch stuff. I've seen some of it in person. For instance, I was ready for some Umbrella Academy stuff. I was like, I hate this 3 3/4, but I don't care. I want it. They do not look good. to the point where I haven't heard them announce anymore. So I have to assume that they didn't do well, which is unfortunate because it means I've never hit my Pogo or my number 5 because they started off with some odd character choices. But yeah, they do not look good. I've seen a few other of their lines that look pretty mediocre. And when you have stuff like the wonderful vintage collection behind you at that scale that look borderline better than some of the 6-inch figures, I see that being a very hard uphill battle for them unless they improve a lot.
Yeah, honestly, no, we're not going to clash over that because I agree with you 100%. Where they excel is their original properties with their Vitruvian Hacks line.
Mm-hmm.
When that originally launched, they were doing all those like mythological characters and different things from legend. And then they started doing more fantasy characters. And I mean, those were so amazing. And they, in a sense, were also modular where you could change some things around, and they were great. I really hyped them up to my friends who did play D&D because you could really fully like customize your figure to be your character if you wanted it to be.
Okay.
And I thought that was amazing. And I thought some of the things, because they were sculptors for big companies like Hasbro. I mean, they worked for Hasbro for many, many years. And so, you know, I thought the stuff that they were putting out was just absolutely incredible, and that they were just going to blow up and be the next biggest thing. And then, yeah, they had some stumbles, 100%. They started doing then some more Vitruvian hacks, but they were revolving around like zombies and like schoolgirls and stuff like that. And I was like, these are terrible. Like, what happened? I don't like these. They don't look good. They don't have the same appeal that the original like more fantasy based ones did. And then the Umbrella Academy ones, those aren't good either. And I don't know if that was just bad timing because that first season was so great and the hype was there, and then that hype never recovered. And like you said, that character selection was a little odd. The only thing that I look at when I look at those figures is I actually look at like, you know, can I kit bash something out of this? And there's actually a few things I kind of would like to kit bash with a couple of them. But it's not that I want those figures. Yeah. You know, it's because I want those parts. Yeah. And I actually agree with you 100%. More for me, that was a disappointing because I think they peaked really early, and because they came out of the gate with the exception of maybe Mythic Legions or Four Horsemen and maybe, you know, Marauders, they came out of the independent Kickstarter gate swinging hard, and they kind of fell.
I don't, you know, dabble in the 1/18th scale, as everyone knows. For people who don't know, that's 3 3/4. But it's $29 because I just looked it up just to kind of familiarize myself with it. Because for some reason, Boss Fight, what's the other studio? Or not other studio. What's the other company that does all of like the big Mortal Kombat figures?
Storm Collectibles?
Storm Collectibles.
Oh, okay. So for some reason, I'm thinking like Storm Collectibles, Boss Fight. Maybe because they're making Mortal Kombat figures and there's a lot of boss fights in that. So that's what I was thinking. I don't know. Yeah. But $29 for 1/18th, is that like okay? Could that be like an issue with the line?
It definitely could be, but I would say with them, one, it's an independent creation, and the pricing is different in your head.
It's weird.
And they did come decked out with accessories. I mean, decked out.
That's what I've noticed. That was going to be my next question. Like, do you normally get this much for this scale?
At least you did. At least you did for a lot of the Vitruvian Hacks figures. You did.
Well, like even his Umbrella Academy ones are like $29, and I mean it's a decent amount of accessories. That's more than what you would get from like a Marvel Legend by far. Yeah. Or, you know, a couple bucks more. But yeah, that's fair. So again, this one I don't have a complete.
Well, I wasn't sure because I know there's a certain local toy store in the mall that you frequent, and they have a bunch of them on the wall. So I wasn't sure if you.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
That is actually surprising.
Yeah.
Maybe I will look at it.
Check them out because
I do love supporting local.
Yeah, and by local you mean Target. Moving on from there, Haya Toys. The only thing I've ever seen from them are those 3 3/4 Predator figures, and they're not bad. Like if you didn't have NECA out there, I feel like they'd be a great, you know, for a collector who wants some Predator representation. I think they're a nice middle ground between paying the now $40 for NECA figure versus like a more closer like lower end retail. Especially if you're a 3 3/4 fan, I think that's a great opportunity to have Predator face off with some Jedi or something on your shelf. Like gives you some options. I don't know that I see them like they'd have to, because it still looks a little bit toy quality from the ones I've seen. They may have improved since the last time I saw them, versus like collector quality. But I think that the potential's there. If they did expand out, they could be a smaller scale like line compare like that against NECA. So like NECA does all those like horror movies and stuff like that. I could see them doing those at a smaller scale to give people options, and that be their kind of like ticket to being a little bit of a bigger thing. But I don't know if I see them being like a Hasbro or Mattel level kind of thing.
Well, I don't know about that, but it has been a while since you checked them out, because
Okay, have they improved a lot?
Immensely.
Okay.
And they're doing Predator, they're doing Alien, they're doing RoboCop, they're doing other stuff, that they're doing GI Joe, even Rambo, Judge Dredd, so many different things. And the other thing that's cool about them is, because of that scale, they're able to work in different things like little play sets and vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they NECA, people are clamoring for a RoboCop 2, and for anybody who does not know, in the movie RoboCop 2, there's literally a character called RoboCop 2, and it's a huge like hulking thing, and people have wanted that for years, and NECA, it was like no, and Haya Toys did it, and it was awesome looking. It's at a very small scale, but it's great looking, and they're doing different things like that that really, yeah, I think they're great. The price point is high for the size that they are, but if you're into that detail and that world building, like I talked about, with Star Wars and things, because NECA's not going to, they try.
Yeah, but they're
not going to give you that.
If it's not Turtles, they're not going to do it, essentially.
Well, not only that, especially not now, but they're just not going to give you, that material.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they're experimenting with 6-inch as well, because I know the Judge Dredd stuff is coming out in a 6-inch, and I believe Rambo stuff is coming out in 6-inch.
Oh,
for
those
Haya
those
Toys.
soft good ones that I see people comparing to Mezco. Okay, I didn't know it was them.
Yep, and that's them as well. So
this Rambo looks insane,
right?
That I did
insane.
see.
Insane. It's $80, but
that's still cheaper than Mezco.
Comparing that to like a Mezco. Right. Holy crap! Like I do recall this company now. At first, I didn't realize it, but we've talked about
on the
like
news.
the Predators before. That's one thing, and maybe I was actually paying attention to that. But they were the smaller scale, but the detail was just like insane, like how much detail there was in the smaller scale. So I do remember these, and I mean, just looking at the website alone makes me like hopeful. Like if they had a property that I was into that was obviously like a side thing, not like Turtles or whatnot, I could see myself getting into this scale just for like a small, like you said, like world building or playset or something that I can get like a lot of for that value of like the $20. Sure, it's not like bigger, but if I'm getting the same quality and detail and I can do more with it, that's intriguing. So I like this actually, to be, you know what? I'm gonna make sure that they're the next big company.
You're gonna support the line?
I mean, if they have local, because I only support local.
Well, I mean, they're in Walmart.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, then they're good.
That's where I saw, because I saw the first wave of the Predator stuff, but that was like over a year ago now. And I was like, okay, like it's not bad, but it didn't blow me away.
You're not thinking of the Leonard Predators, are you?
No, I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. Because like Haya Toys are like super detailed.
Maybe I am getting mixed up because I thought it was the Haya Toy ones, but I don't know. I'm glad either way that they've got the detail to be there. So cool. I hope that they do.
Michael, I see Injustice on here.
Oh
yeah,
oh.
They've done Injustice.
Oh, but I don't think they ever finished the line though, because I think they did just some villains and like I think maybe like Superman and Batman.
Yeah, there's a few like Wonder Woman.
They did Harley Quinn. I have one.
Swamp Thing. There's a Joker on there too.
I think they did Reverse Flash, and I kind of want to hunt him down. I can't remember. Anyway, moving on. So Chicken Fried Toys. This one's 100% on you, Nate.
Yeah, no, I mean this is
Love
just
the
a
name.
fun one. This is just a fun one. They're not going to do anything probably outside of like these dime novel legends, but you know they're really fun. They are super detailed. They've got great articulation. Um, you know, are we ever going to see them at Walmart or Target? Let alone come after Mattel or Hasbro? No, but you know if you're interested in that sort of thing, you should check them out.
Cool. Also, let's get Marauder gun runners from you
Same,
too. Same. Okay.
same.
Because
Well, I mean, I just wanted to say, like you mentioned that they were doing like the module bodies and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Is that was something because that would be a cool thing that no one like big is kind of doing, at least to my knowledge. So that was an intriguing thing. I keep thinking of all these companies of having like what's their unique thing that could make them
Mhm.
bigger and larger to bring them to like retail or something that not everyone like Mattel and Hasbro and NECA are already doing, and that's like an interesting like way of selling it that way. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely, because I mean that's how GI Joe started back in the '60s. It's the razor blade concept. You get the starter, and then you get all the other stuff that you have to keep buying, and that's what
Mm.
Marauder's really good at. You can get base bodies, and then you can get all this other junk to deal with it and mess with it, and it's constantly like when I had them, and I just honestly I got rid of them because I just didn't have enough time to enjoy them. But like I had a whole bin that I had all my helmets and all my heads and all my this and that, and I would like make different characters and stuff like that, and that was super fun. And if
Mm.
you don't collect other stuff, that should be what you do. But if you collect other stuff, you just don't get to spend the time with it that you want to.
That's fair.
that is fair. As far as Four Horsemen, they night and day quality compared to everyone else on the list, but they're also a
Mm-hmm.
higher price point and they're doing their
Mm-hmm.
own thing. I don't see them. They've done some like
Oh, they work for other
nods.
companies.
Yeah,
They
they work for
sculpt.
other companies and they've done nods within their line
Sure.
side of things, but I don't ever see them like pursuing a licensed product for them to do in house rather than just
Yeah.
like help other companies with it. Like they do a lot of soft good
Correct.
stuff for other companies, via like some actual like Instagram like artists and stuff like that. They do the sculpting for other companies, but I don't see them doing like an in-house thing. Like it just doesn't seem like it's there
Right.
in their plans. And the last one is super action stuff. That one they do accessories. So like I can't remember what it's called, but there was a coffin that came with a bunch of blood effects and weapons and stuff. And some of their stuff really incredible. Some of the stuff needs some work, like with scaling, and like it just almost looks a little too comical and a little too cartoony.
Yeah.
But they do some cool stuff, and I think the fact that they just seem to do accessories would kind of hinder them. Like I don't see that being a retail item, let alone being something that could get them into like the major race. Um, Maybe if they did more of like a smaller, almost like a the mini brands, how they do the little mystery balls
Mm.
where you get like 5 of them. If they did something like that with the accessories, I could see them getting into retail that way.
Absolutely.
But I don't see with their
I would
current
love
model.
to see that kind of thing.
Right, that'd be so cool. It would be. I think
Yeah.
it would have to be at specialty stores. I couldn't. I don't know if I could see Walmart being like, get this
Next
thing where
to
you might get a pile of blood, a chainsaw, or a crowbar.
right next to the tiny Lego set, man.
Yeah, but I could definitely see like a comic book shop or toy store or something like that doing it. Which brings us, since we're about to close out, I do want to go through our wonderful patron, Suk My Taint, or Taunt, or however hell he wants to say it. He was kind
I
enough
think
to
he
be,
wants to say it by "suck my taint."
yeah.
Just not even gonna hide it.
Yeah, not even gonna hide it. He decided to be devil's advocate, and he sent several paragraphs kind of explaining like why he doesn't think that it's gonna necessarily be possible for any of this to happen, because it's easier for smaller toy companies to pivot and change things than it is bigger ones, because bigger ones have so many moving parts that you have to like go through like layer after layer to get anything changed or moved, which is fair. At the same time, though, we've seen companies like Hasbro suddenly like that change things as well. So it's when they want to, they can. I feel. Well, yeah, no one wants approval on something new if it fails, which is fair with a bigger company versus like smaller companies. They have a little more room, even though a failing line could also tank their business because they are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fewer people to sign off on, which kind of all falls in the umbrella. Issues of distribution with Hasbro and Mattel stem from them having to sign off on like all the different things versus a smaller business would obviously be able to be more choosy and or more expansive, however they want to pursue it with what opportunity is there. Big toy companies are a little more or he just says more vulnerable to public opinion because you get into cases where people want to do the cancel culture nonsense over stuff like with Hasbro, if the plasticless packaging, or when they do just about anything, there's always some sort of boycott. He makes a point that I don't agree with about that though, where he says like for Hasbro it's detrimental to their entire system. And he says like if someone wants to suddenly decides that they're going to boycott the Marvel Legends line, that hurts Play-Doh. And I'm like, I don't think so, because I don't think the people boycotting Marvel Legends are buying Play-Doh.
No. There's certain brands that they have that will never be touched.
They won't be affected by any of that.
Right.
To kind of prove that point, didn't even know connected at all. Play-Doh and
exactly
like that's crazy.
Which most people don't. Like
Mind-blowing.
even if you go through like the was it Bud Light fiasco, there's so many brands attached to them and other beer companies that also do the same stuff, and people have no idea. Like people don't do research when they boycott. They just see thing, get angry, and say I'm not buying it anymore for a few months until it blows over, and then they're back to their usual rigmarole. He also brings up license issues because some licenses are going to be significantly more expensive than others. He has
That's a
number in here of like if they want $1 million cash up front for a license. I don't think there's any license out there that is one up front or two gonna be a situation where it's quite that expensive. But I see where his point is.
Oh, we have no idea how much license costs.
We don't, but I've had conversations with Aaron, and he used to work for Hasbro Kenner, so like I have a rough idea of how it used to work. Granted, that was like 20 years ago, but I can't imagine.
Nothing's changed over 20 years. I can assure you that.
I mean, a lot's changed for the worse, so you never know. But he also points out the fact that it also can cause problems with licensors, like the debacle between Playmates, Nickelodeon, and Super 7, which I mean, there was that whole thing with the
Rat King?
Rat King, thank you. I was like, Rat something. Rat Man? No, that's not it. The Rat King not being the way people wanted him to be, and the speculation that it was, Playmates being like, yo, that's not okay because we own that like version of it, not Nickelodeon or what have you, which is technically true. And now them having to pivot, but they're allegedly going to go make something that's closer to that. So I guess when we see that new Rat King, that will kind of decide for me, at least, if I think Playmates was at play, or if it was just them trying to not pigeonhole themselves anymore and pivot away from that. Because I could see that being the thing more than anything. I could see it being that their nostalgia lines that are based off old toys not performing the way they used to, and them trying to pivot away from it to like new shiny, like just test the waters kind of thing.
Which is what people want. So
yeah. Well, apparently not everyone, because some people were like, ooh, sexy Rat King. And other people were like, that's not my ugly Rat King. So you can't win no matter what you do.
No.
But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of go over that real quick. But we are unfortunately out of time. We have to go spend some time with our viewers over on the live stream. If you haven't tuned into one, head over on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern time. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Helps us out here at the channel, lets us know we're doing a good job, gets you a bunch of toy-related content in your feed, such as our reviews, Let's Poses, live streams, and the weekly podcast. You can check us out Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Modern Toy Fair. You can head over to patreon.com if you'd like to help us out and support us here at the channel. Tons of different tiers with different options. You can get physical prints of the photos I take. You can make suggestions for the fake podcast at the end of the real podcast. You can be a guest on the live stream. You can even get the episodes of the podcast early. So there's a bunch of different options. So head over. Link will be in the description below. You can also check out tbow.com/Modern Toy Fair, where you can get merch with all of our logos and different inside jokes and stuff from the wealth of the history of our channel. You can check Jarmar out over on metal.tv/Jarmar Games. And Nate, what you got for this week?
Just make sure that that you have like a special like air compressor in case you need to fill anything up with air over the next few weeks that you may not have been aware of that you needed. Just make sure things like that and other household products are ready to go as we head into springtime. Springtimes are wildly inconsistent weather-wise, so just make sure that you're prepared.
Wonderful. Hopefully see you next week. Same toy time, same Toy Fair channel. Thank you for watching.